Okay, you probably have seen this account that was made in December 21st, 2023. He had one tweet, Cole Allen, the presumed assassin. Supposedly, he sent his brother a manifesto 10 minutes before he attempted to do this, and his brother turned him in. He was an intern at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and also there's this picture of him going around with an IDF patch. Well, who is this guy with the account? It's Henry Martinez, who was a Lockheed Martin engineer for none other than the Artemis project. His profile picture was Pepe the Frog in a tux, and then the header was the Butler assassination photo in some sort of holographic filter. Which is weird because the Butler assassination happened in 2024 and this is 2023. Now you might think the 7956 1893 is random numbers. However, 1893, Ingersole Lockwood published a book called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, where Baron Trump, his mentor is Don, and he goes on this crazy journey. And then in 1896, this Ingersole Lockwood guy publishes The Last President, which is about a populist president who gets elected, and then there's chaos in New York City, and there's even the place that he lives or a hotel on Fifth Avenue, which is where the Trump Tower is. A lot of people point to that as evidence of time travel, which is emblematic of the fact that he joined in December 21st, 2023, and he tweeted Cole Allen, which how could you have known this if you did not know the circumstances of this assassination attempt? Then you look at the 56. Well, December 21st, 2023 is 56. Then you look at the one tweet, Cole Allen. You break it out into C is 3, like A would be 1. C plus O plus L plus E plus A plus L plus L plus E plus N is 35 plus 44 is 79. So this is not random. And when you start to get into the numerology, you start thinking Freemason, occultism. You start looking at the date, the winter solstice, which is December 21st. You see, what is that important to? Saturn worship. And the assassination attempt took place on Saturday, which is Saturn's day. There's an old Roman holiday called Saturnalia, which I believe ran from December 17th through the 23rd. First of all, here's the god of Saturn. Year-round, they would have a statue of this god, and his feet would be bound. And on this holiday, they would release those bindings, symbolizing that he's free to roam. Where everybody would have a role reversal, where masters would be slaves, slaves would be able to speak freely, and they would even choose a mock king. Also, a lot of these were celebrated, such as decorating wreaths and giving gifts, and this is a precursor to Christmas. But let's get back to this god. Let's look at some adjacents. He was the god of time, who is also in Greek culture, Kronos, and in Indian culture, Shiva. Guess what's outside CERN's facility? A lot of people who worship Saturn worship the black cube. Because when you look at the black cube at a certain angle, you see this hexagon on Saturn. You can see the influence of the black cube on Judaism and Islam. And the rings of Saturn are like the halos. And then you look at the Trump Tower. In North Africa, call it Sumer and Mesopotamia, they called them Baal. These were the Canaanites. If you know Baal, you know child sacrifice. It's at least the Kabbalah all the way through Hermeticism, through the Freemasons, through Luciferian, like the misanthropic Luciferian order out of Sweden, and all of the Golden Dawn, Aleister Crowley stuff. Again, this all relates back to Saturn worship. Then let's look at the Illuminati card game from 1995. Some of the common predictions was 9/11, looking at the terrorist nuke, and the Pentagon. The Vegas shooting one is super weird. The card Las Vegas has the Jack and the Ace, which who was performing there was Jason Aldean, the J.A. He has a tattoo of a Jack and an Ace on his arm. Also, the J is the 10th letter and the A is the 1, and it happened on 10/1. Some could make the argument these are Trump's card, the charismatic leader, and enough is enough. Tell me that doesn't look like him. Then you bring in the Pepe and the Tux. Look at this picture. If you look then, the Egyptian frog god, Kek, which is darkness and chaos, there is a card called the Frog God. Trump retweeted a Pepe meme in 16. Well, then let's look at it, right? Amy Eskridge told us P52 and P47. She's no longer with us, but this is present day plus 52,000 years, present day plus 47,000 years, and these are essentially the elites that came back after a calamity and now are in our timeline. Obviously, there's a ton of predictive programming. The one that sticks out is The Simpsons with the escalator in 2000 with Trump coming down. Then you get time slips. For example, there's this guy who shows up in 1954 in a Tokyo airport claiming that he's from this nation that doesn't exist, and then he has a passport that has stamps from this nation for 3 years prior. You also get a claim from Liverpool where people walk down the street and all of a sudden they see 1950s to 1960s Liverpool, old vehicles, period clothing, vintage shop fronts, etc. You then have the Pear Lab. Basically, this guy ran the study for 40 years, essentially was trying to prove precognition. He would have a remote viewer describe an area and then have some other guy a week later go and find an area and see if that person would be able to predict what this person would look for. They claim to have 6 sigma significance, which just means that it couldn't have happened by random chance alone. Then you get into gravity and time, where those two are attributed together. So if you get to a black hole, time slows down, again, showing that time could be malleable. Then you get into quantum retrocausality, which is if you observe something that happens in the quantum realm after it happens, then whatever you observe is what happened. So essentially you are dictating the past. Then if you've heard of Project Looking Glass, there's an actual Vatican chronovisor story, and there's this exorcist who claims even up to the day he died that this was real, where they could put this on and see events of the past. It's said to still be at the Vatican. Then we get to Tesla. Dude has a fire in his apartment at 1895 where she just burns up all the work he's been working on since he was 19. And then he dies in 1943 where John G. Trump, yes, Trump's uncle, takes all of his work. He deems it of no military value, even though he invented alternating currents, which is like transformers and pretty much modern day electrical infrastructure all the way through radios, x-rays, remote controllers, and a ton more. Tesla claimed that he had time displacement, essentially saying that he experienced time all at once, past, future, present. He had plans for a death ray and dynamic gravity. He disagreed with Einstein that space was curved because if it was an equal and opposite reaction, it would just curve it back, and that gravity was actually moving through a medium, ZPF, and that it was secondary to electromagnetic reactions going on. This is the claimed ideas that had propelled Project Pegasus. Project Pegasus was a classified program from DARPA and the CIA in 1960s and 1970s. A Seattle lawyer named Andrew Basiago claims that he was a child chrononaut in 2004 where he went to the Gettysburg Address in 1863 and then teleported to Mars in the 1980s alongside a young Barack Obama. That's wild. Was it just a false flag so that he could get approval for this ballroom? Or is this like a time travel heist and I am just way out of my depths?